Right now, I want to welcome to the show Mark Mix. He is the president of the National Right to Work Committee. He's also the president of the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation. And we were talking earlier about the supply chain and the shipping ports. And there's more news to be discussed with Mark in that area. But first, just want to welcome you to the show, Mark. Thanks for your time today. How are you?
Tony, I'm doing fine. Congratulations on the 100-day anniversary. That's exciting and good to hear your voice. And I know Mike is busy somewhere else, right?
Oh, yeah, playing baseball in Florida. We talked to him just about an hour ago, and he was definitely enjoying much better weather than we're experiencing here in the Midwest down there in Florida, in the land of Ron DeSantis, as he said, and having a great time. So good for him. And Mike will be back next week, and he's enjoying his vacation down there. So we were talking earlier in the show. I actually did a story about the CEO of LOL Dolls, one of the big very super popular toy brands that's out there right now. The CEO of that company was reacting to Pete Buttigieg and President Biden and all of their talks about opening up ports and how that is going to magically fix the supply chain. And this CEO said, no, that's not going to fix the supply chain, and rolled out a bunch of reasons why. You being such a proponent of right to work, and that issue also is front and center when it comes to the supply chain issue, and particularly even the shipping ports. So just kind of explain what's going on there and your thoughts on this issue.
Yeah, Tony, it's a sad story, and the problem isn't a new problem. It's a problem that's been ongoing for a long, long time. In fact, the World Bank just put out their Port Performance Index for last year, and they, notwithstanding the fact the United States is the number one importer of merchandise, the top two ports that are basically account for 40% of all container cargo on the West Coast, Los Angeles and Long Beach, they're ranked 328 and 332 respectively out of a grid of 350 ports around the world in the time it takes to get a container of ship in and a ship out of their port. So obviously there's infrastructure problems that precede this cargo problem that we're dealing with, the supply chain problem. And one of the factors in this equation is monopoly union power. The International Longshoremen Warehouse Union on the West Coast and the International Longshoremen Association on the East Coast have basically hammerlock control over the port system. And over the years, they have opposed automation of any kind. They have opposed any kind of technological advancements at ports that would help to increase productivity, to increase the flow of traffic. And they've used this monopoly power where basically they say, look, if you're not in the union, you can't work at the port. And now on the West Coast, they're saying that if you're a truck driver and an independent contractor and you want to go ahead and pick up loads at Los Angeles or Long Beach, you know what? That's not going to last for long either, because they want to impose unionization on employees in the trucking industry and eliminate the independent contractors. So there's a lot here. Obviously, the immediacy of the problem, but the development of this problem goes back to union power and the idea of maintaining their forced unionism control over the ports on the East Coast and the West Coast.
And how much of an effect does that have, even in good times, on the supply chain and in general, all of the supply chain issues that we're facing, not only at the ports, but throughout the infrastructure of the entire country?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the cost is built into the goods that we purchase, no question, whether it be now with, increased demand for limited supply, which is obviously a price driver. But even before we had this, the crisis of the supply chain, there's increased cost and increased inefficiencies, and that leads to increased cost. So it hurts, while the Biden administration says this is a problem for the elites and for the elite citizens, this is not a problem for ordinary folks. I mean, that's absolutely the opposite of what's true, as much as they try to cover it up. And so this union power that basically controls these ports, you go back to 2002 on the West Coast, there was a significant strike out there with the International Longshoremen and Warehouse Union. You know what the objections of the unions were? The Pacific Maritime Association tried to implement new computer technology with scanners, sensors, and barcodes. And that caused a labor dispute that basically shut down the supply chain back in 2002. Back in 1971, 130 days, Tony, the union took their workers out on strike at the docks, and that fight was over the containerization of merchandise, meaning put it in a big box so we could unload it and load it very quickly on trucks and on ships, as opposed to the kind of the breakout technology where everything was just loaded into one big port or one big haul, if you will, and then sorted out by the longshoremen. I mean, the inefficiencies here when ports around the world are doing it with automation and more automation where people are, can participate in that as well. But it's this kind of archaic system at the ports that's causing a real problem.
Yeah, just a couple of minutes left here with Mark Mix. He's the president of the National Right to Work Committee, and Ken Williams has a question. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, Mark. Joe Biden had announced that he went down and he talked to those port authorities and he said, we're going to make these guys go to work 24/7 now. Well, weren't they working 24/7 then because they were so far behind anyway? And what's really going on here?
Yeah, no, that's all you have to bargain over, all of that, Ken. That's all part of the collective bargaining agreement. And while other ports around the world are open 24/7 for sure, even when they say the ports are going to be open 24/7 here in the United States, that has to be negotiated. And to make matters even worse, Ken, this so-called Build Back Better infrastructure bill that is currently pending here in Washington has $17 billion for port infrastructure in it. But Section 30102 prohibits the use of the funds for automation on the ports. I mean, it's amazing what Biden's saying, and it's just not accurate. And the bottom line is, he's kowtowing to his union boss supporters, and it's costing us, the consumer, dramatically.
So, Mark, I hope we can get you back on the show, or at least the radio station, sometime very soon, because there's so much more of this story to talk about and inform folks on. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time here, but in the meantime, because these are stories, these are issues that aren't being covered, I feel like, anywhere else. This is new information to me and to so many other people to hear this layer of the story. And, not just in the ports, but affecting supply chain issues all across the country. How can people get more of this information, learn more about what you guys are working on and informing the public on? Where can people go to get all this information?
Yeah, Tony, it's that amazing internet, that thing, nrtwc.org is where you can find information about the committee and legislation. nrtw.org is where you can find information about your legal rights in the workplace.
That is Mark Mix, the president of the National Right to Work Committee and the president of the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation. Mark, thank you so much for your time this morning. And again, I hope we get a chance to talk to you again very soon.